Once upon a time, the Cleveland Browns were a proud franchise, the standard bearers. But one day, a man of ambition by the name of Art Modell sought the team for himself. And a $4 million price tag was no obstacle. His new reign as emperor would begin by firing the legend Paul Brown in a power move. Yeah, they would win a championship a few years in, but with Paul Brown's players. The rest of his tenure was filled with some gruesome nightmares. You had Red Right 88, the fumble, the drive, you know the deal. And then in the mid-90s, he decided to move the team to Baltimore. There has been debate whether or not he really wanted to do the move or not. Whatever you wish to believe, he ultimately followed the Ted DiBiase rule. Everybody's got a price. The move would begin and they would be rebranded as the Baltimore Ravens, and Cleveland would be without a team for a few years. In 1999, the new expansion Cleveland Browns were born, and their new owner, Al Lerner. And it turns out he was the guy that helped persuade Modell into finalizing the deal in the first place. Oh, the irony. And their choice for head coach? Bring back Bill Belichick? Nah, fuck that. Let's bring in a guy that has no experience at the head coaching position whatsoever. Whatever. Time for opening night.
I want to send a message to everyone who ever made fun of Cleveland, a message to anyone who ever told a Cleveland joke or laughed at a Cleveland joke. You can now officially shut up!
The Browns go out there on the field and just get absolutely demolished by the Steelers. 43-0.
They steal the Browns. It don't matter.
Yeah, the lack of talent was apparent. Like many expansion teams, they had to take what they could get. They picked up a lot of the trash that other teams would just dump to the side, and they actually only had half as much time to prepare for their initial season as other expansion teams like the Panthers and Jaguars. They wouldn't win any home games during their first season, and the 2 games they did win, they barely won. They finished a very abysmal 2-14. You would think that with 1 year under their belt and the opportunity to sign and draft better players, that the Browns would get better. Not exactly. Quarterbacking was a huge issue, and their original draft pick, Tim Couch, while he showed signs and he showed flashes, for the most part, he would melt under pressure, he would get the hell beat out of him, and he inevitably got injured, causing 2 other QBs to start for the year, and they were nothing short of abysmal. Hell, there was one game where they got -9 yards passing. I'm not even joking. They were shut out 4 times, and the Browns finished the season with not only the worst offense in the league by a considerable margin, but this was the worst offense of the 21st century. I wonder how Art Modell's team is doing. Ooh, ouch. Bottlegate. Nuff said. The 0-2 campaign starts off very bizarrely. Dwayne Rudd, not realizing that the whistle hadn't been blown, took his helmet off and threw it, allowing the Chiefs to kick the game-winning field goal at the end of regulation. In October of that year, tragedy struck as Al Lerner had passed away due to brain cancer, leaving his son Randy to take over. But Cleveland still stood strong, and a 10-6 record on the season. A date with the playoffs are in view. They would face the Steelers in the wild card, and they were actually up 33-21 with under 5 minutes left to go, and they still found a way to lose. It sucks, but at the same time, it's a learning experience for you. Oh yeah, about that. Remember Jameer Miller, the only Pro Bowler Cleveland had up to this point? It's revealed that during the previous season, he tore his Achilles tendon, and it was career-ending, and it was during a preseason game. But what about William Green, a cornerstone for that 0-2 run? He ended up getting his ass suspended for 4 games due to substance abuse, and he got stabbed by his fiancée. But what about Kevin Johnson, the best receiver on the Browns by far? He ended up getting his ass cut. Turns out it was his woman that Green was boinging. You can't make this up. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I don't give a hell. I don't give a damn. He'd do the same thing to me. It's war. They will kill you. They're out there to kill you. So I'm gonna kill him. You write that in the paper. You write that. If I didn't hurt him, he'd hurt me. They're gunning for my legs. I'm gonna come right back at him. Soldier.
Cleveland is hungry for victory. The first two head coaching choices didn't really pan out, so let's bring in Romeo Crennel, the defensive coordinator for the New England Patriots, who won a few Super Bowls. His first year didn't really do much, but his second year, Cleveland decided to adapt the philosophy of throw money at everything that moves. Joe Jurevicius, William McGinnis, Ted Washington, LaCharles Bentley. Oh, man. Yeah, LaCharles Bentley, the top center of the free agency class, who wanted to play for Cleveland because it was his hometown, suffers a knee injury during the first play of training camp, and he got a staph infection which ended his career. Because, of course, Cleveland can have nothing good in this world. Drafting hasn't exactly been a strong suit for this iteration of the Browns, but how about another round? What about that Joe Thomas guy? What do you say? You mean the pick actually worked out? He's every bit as good as advertised? You know what they say, even a broken clock is right twice a day. And the Browns put on a very strong showing, and they cruised to a 10-6 record. But due to the steepness and competition in the AFC, it's not enough to make the playoffs. How disappointing indeed. Yup, they've gone and pissed off one of their best players. Joe Jurevicius was a stud pretty much everywhere he went, and Cleveland was no exception. But of course, organizational incompetence reared its ugly head once more. He suffered a knee injury and ended up getting a staph infection, and 7 surgeries later, he still couldn't return to the field for the 2008 season. How does Cleveland respond to all this? By flat out releasing him. He retired shortly after that, and honestly, I would not blame him one bit if he refused to forgive the Browns for this. Without someone like him, Cleveland could not offense, and they fell to a depressing 4-12. Romeo Crennel, get your shit out of the office. Hey, remember that Jets team that caught fire with Brett Favre and then collapsed at the end of the season, losing to their former QB they cut? Why not bring the coach in? Eric Mangini, he brings in Brian Daboll as his offensive coordinator and Rex Ryan as his defensive coordinator. This year they return to glory. They know it. And by glory, if you mean a 1-11 start, you be correct. Braylon Edwards being a team cancer, allegedly punching a friend of LeBron's in the face, and ended up getting traded to the Jets. The quarterbacks being absolute dog shit. What a shocking turn of events. And their GM was fired after one season, and we don't really know exactly why that may be, but the only thing we really know is he was dragged out by security, so he must have done something heinous. Cleveland must make a statement. That means sign and trade for damn near everything that moves. Sheldon Brown, Jake Delhomme, Benjamin Watson, Peyton Hillis. Unfortunately, the team struggled as many of those guys were nowhere near as advertised. This has been year 2, Mr. Mangini. You know what that means. Out the door with you. Pat Shurmur isn't exactly a big name in the coaching market, but considering how dog water Cleveland's been for many years, they pretty much have to take what they can get. It also doesn't help that Cleveland's job security isn't exactly the greatest. So whatever works. You know what doesn't work? The offense. It isn't scoring any goddamn points. It also doesn't help that they traded back their draft pick, which ended up being Julio Jones. Oh, good God.
And here's what you have to understand. We don't even expect you to be good. We just want you to be watchable. Do you have any idea how low our expectations are? We don't expect you to win the Super Bowl. We just want you to look better than a Division III high school team. But all we do is pay you money to put us in a bad mood every week. You are a factory of sadness!
Something needs to be done about the offense. That Trent Richardson guy's there for the taking. He looks promising, although he suffered a bit of a knee injury. But nonetheless, Cleveland took a chance on him, and also grabbed a QB who was the first in NFL history to be drafted at the age of 28. And on August 2nd, longtime owner Randy Lerner sold the team for $1 billion. Pretty much double what his father bought the team for. A long period of bad ownership rewarded due to the NFL's exponential growth. Enter Jimmy Haslam, and his philosophy became apparent. Meddle and tamper like there's no tomorrow. He wants to make a change, and after an abysmal 5-11 campaign, this was a pretty easy choice to make. Mr. Shurmur, get your bitch ass up out of here. I heard Eric Mangini is still on the unemployment line. Go join him. So Haslam has his first choice of head coach. Well, they lost out on Chip Kelly, so he can't drive them into the ground. Someone else ends up suffering that fate. So they hire 𝔡'𝔂𝔞𝔯𝔯𝔦. And despite having a pretty good rookie campaign, Richardson was still told to hit the pine as he's traded to the Indianapolis Colts for a first-round draft pick. And at 4-12 season, Haslam already decided he's seen enough. Next. Remember that first-round pick they gave Richardson to the Colts for? Well, they used that pick to get Johnny Football, one of the most overhyped dudes coming out of college, and a lot of question marks about his character. Anyway, this season has gone surprisingly well for the Browns. Under new coach Mike Pettin, they jump off to a 6-3 start with Brian Hoyer leading the charge. You are not mistaken, although regression's probably on the way. After a loss to the Colts, Brian Hoyer was benched and Johnny Football would make his debut. He won neither of his 2 starts. Yep, the team outright implodes. They were who we thought they were. The only thing Johnny Football's been good for is being Johnny Bust. The only thing he has to offer is severe immaturity. A total mess both on the field and off it. When you get benched for Austin Davis, it's over. Don't even try to clear out your shit, it's already been chucked out onto the street. A second-year head coach, a bad season, I think you know the drill by now. The true highlight of the 2015 Browns season was the fact that they tried to show fan appreciation by typing the hashtag DP, thinking that it was going to mean dog pound. Wasn't exactly the dog pound you were thinking it was going to be. Turns out it meant double penetration. Yes, they actually showed porn on the walls for 20 minutes on end until somebody finally pulled the plug. My question is, why did it take so long? I guess some people seized the opportunity and started getting off to it. It's a shame this didn't happen 10 years ago. Kellen Winslow would have approved. For the next head coach, they went with the coach of the Raiders the last time they went 500. Hugh Jackson finally gets another chance. However, Cleveland needs a quarterback. Again. But instead of real options, get a guy who's been injured and been a massive disappointment throughout his career. Robert Griffin III gets injured again in his first game. Cleveland would only win 1 game throughout the entire season, and they barely won that one. Behold the glory of 0-16. Wait, they're keeping Hugh Jackson? You mean to tell me that all those coaches that got fired after only their second year, yet this guy keeps his job? Make it make sense. Although they didn't fire the head coach after a winless season, which is preposterous, they still make coordinator changes. Todd Haley just got run out of Pittsburgh due to being the worst thing since bubonic plague. Cleveland has been without a franchise quarterback since their revival. Sooner or later, something's got to give. Well, Baker Mayfield's there for the taking. Welcome to the world of football, baby. This season has been a blessing for Steelers fans. Watching Haley squirm has been joyous for them to watch. And the worst part is, he didn't even last a full season. In fact, he didn't even last a third of a season. Hugh Jackson was finally fired, 10 months too late if we're being honest. And Haley was fired almost immediately after him. Mr. Bountygate Greg Williams takes over the head coaching position, and the offensive coordinator spot was filled by Freddie Kitchens, and they go on a bit of a run. Baker Mayfield actually shines as a rookie. Unfortunately, it's not enough, and they find themselves in a situation where a Pittsburgh team needs them to win. In the season finale against Baltimore, a surplus of the audience were Steelers fans. They were marching down the field, and then, yeah, not sure what you were expecting there. This was a year fans could finally get excited. The Browns had potential for the first time in a long time. Baker Mayfield having a solid showing his rookie season. You have him, you got Nick Chubb, you got Jarvis Landry, you got Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, and they acquired Odell Beckham in a trade. And then they would sign Kareem Hunt. Yeah, after an incident at a hotel room where he was pushing and kicking a woman, the Chiefs decided they would not stand for his antics and gave him a one-way ticket to unemployment land. Most teams would avoid such a situation, but not the Browns. They snagged him up and brought him into the fold. Many would question such a move, but you can't deny his performance on field, and he would still be a complimentary back to Nick Chubb. In the right hands, this team could go a long way. Freddie Kitchens was not that guy. He was in way over his head. He couldn't control most of the personalities, and he barely ran the ball. He would not last after a season. He was quickly shown the door. This would go on to be one of the most disappointing teams in NFL history. Such a shame. There's always next year, right? This time, their talent and potential would finally be realized. The combined efforts of Baker Mayfield, the running back core, the receiver core, although Odell Beckham would miss most of the year, and a solid defensive unit catapulted Cleveland to a level not seen in the new era, boasting an 11-5 record and momentum out the wazoo, making the playoffs for the first time in 18 years. You mean to tell me that they actually won their initial playoff game because Pittsburgh drank fucktard juice, and they actually went the distance with the Chiefs, who won the Super Bowl the previous year? 2020 was quite the time for all of us. Let's never go there again. They're finally in good hands. Thank God. This year was very unkind to Baker Mayfield. The Browns were still fighters. They often found themselves in dog scraps that could have gone either way, which is fitting considering they're the dog pound. But Baker spent most of the season battling through injuries. He played through a finger injury in week 2 against the Texans, and later on this season he suffered a concussion. They may have just butchered the best thing that has happened to them in years. I don't know what you were expecting. It's fucking Cleveland. Cleveland is putting their big boy pants back on. If that means give up on Baker prematurely and trade for Deshaun Watson's bloated contract, notwithstanding the sexual assault allegations that are ongoing, also causing him to miss an entire season last year, then so be it. Baker understandably decides he wants out. He's finally free from this hell, on his way to another hell for a short period of time. Oh, and because of said allegations, Deshaun Watson would be suspended for most of the season, so in the meantime, you have to settle for the mediocrity of Jacoby Brissett. His start is typical Jacoby Brissett. Won't embarrass himself, won't wow anyone, safe quarterback play. The Browns were pretty much mid, and Deshaun Watson would come back, but he showed flashes of what he used to be, but not really much, and they would miss the playoffs. Again. Deshaun Watson has been rather mediocre, yet Cleveland is still winning football games in spite of that. Him getting injured against the Ravens bringing back bad memories, as they're starting 5 different QBs in the same season, including the likes of Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Jeff Driscoll, PJ Walker, and Joe Flacco? He's still in the NFL? Wow. And he won 4 of their last 5 games to secure their wildcard spot? Holy shit, miracles really can happen. It wouldn't save them from getting stampeded in Houston, but considering how bad they've been for a long time, that's a successful year. The trade continues to age worse as time passes. Deshaun Watson looks like one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL, and going on this trajectory, it may be a miserable season for Cleveland yet again. I wonder where Baker Mayfield is these days. Oh. Remember that brief period not too long ago where there was no BS coming from the Browns? They looked rather respectable for a change. They weren't a Super Bowl contender, but they weren't really a punchline either. They just played football and it looked like they were on the right track. It felt really good after years of them fucking everything up. Next thing you know, they would proceed to fuck everything up. This is no exaggeration. Everything about the Browns, the second version, whether it be under Al or Randy Lerner or Jimmy Haslam, has been outright failure. They failed at building a winning franchise. They failed at creating a good culture. They failed at surrounding themselves with competent football men. They failed at reestablishing the proud tradition of Cleveland football. Everything they've done in the 21st century has been soaked in it. They squeezed every dollar they possibly could out of fans, and they're still doing so to this day. Yet somehow they still can't squeeze the heart, soul, and passion out of them, as they are still loyal to this day. Yes, there's some questions about their character, but it's still admirable nonetheless. And the worst part about it is, Haslam's only 70, and knowing the longevity of sports owners, you got 15 years at minimum, probably. Unfortunately, I think Bitch Boy's keeping this team around for this foreseeable future.
You are a factory of sadness!